Hey designer, Alex here, welcome to the channel, and in this video we are going to create agency website landing page. We are going to create it in Adobe XD. I'm going to give you reference files so that you can follow along. Grab yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea because this video is going to be really long because we are going to go into as much detail as possible because I really want you to understand the structure, the ideation and the execution behind these landing pages and how they are created in Adobe XD. I will also give you that file that you can use in personal or commercial projects, so make sure to download it if you want to follow along. Link is going to be down in the description, so download that file and let's get started. Alright, so here is what we are going to create in this tutorial. So you can see we have a simple navigation right here at the top. We have a call to action section with a button. Then we have this nice mockup with a laptop and a mobile phone. Below that we have some features. Then we have this nice illustration with our mission right here on the left. Below that we have another call to action section. We have meet our team and you can see these team members right here. We have a client section. Then we have pricing and you can see how that looks like. Then below that we have a simple footer, and I decided to go with one simple footer rather than the complex one for this tutorial, but in the next tutorials I'm going to create on this channel, I'm going to include more complex buttons, more complex footers, as well with more complex navigation with deep linking integrated. But for this first tutorial I decided to went with this simple one. So let's get started. So if you want to follow along with this tutorial, all you need to do is download a file, and I will link the XD file which I'm using in this tutorial in the links below, so you can check that out, download it and use it if you want to follow along with this tutorial. You can also download the Open Sans font which I was using, which is free Google font, and I will leave the link to it in the description below. Also, I'm using these angle mockups which are paid mockups, but you can download free version. And you can, as you can see right here, download free sample, which is designcode.io/angle-xd, and I will also leave a link in the description below so you can access it. And if you don't want to pay, that's completely fine. You can download free sample, and I think you should be able to follow along with these free mockups. So here is how the file looks like. You can see all the assets right here, from colors, character styles, and I didn't create any components, but I will get to it in the tutorial. You can create components for yourself if you want to expand this page and add additional pages, but I didn't want to do any such thing because I just am creating one simple landing page. So to get started, I will jump right here, click on the artport, and I will choose Web 1920, which is 1920 with 1080. And I'll change its name right here to agency website and hit Ctrl S or Command S if you're on a Mac to save it out. What you can also do is simply jump right here and extend it all the way down by clicking this middle dot, and I will jump right in and click on my layout. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these columns. So right here we have 12 columns. Gutter width is 16, column width is 122, and margins are linked at 140, which is 140 on each side, left and right. And this is just a default grid system that Adobe XD has incorporated. If you want to use something else, something that you created, Bootstrap or something else, then you can use those measurements and include them inside of XD. You can simply type those values right here, hit enter or return, and it will apply to your file. So to get started, I will have to create my navigation, and I will simply copy and paste the logo I was using right here. And if you don't see it, let me quickly show you how it looks like, but you're going to see it in a minute. As you can see, here it is. And that's just the basic default logo I was using to create it. So what I'm going to do next is create my navigation. So I'm going to jump right here, click my T and type in features like so. And you cannot see it, but what I can do is create a nice background shape just so that you can see what I'm doing. and I'll position that background shape right here, and I'll call it Hero BG, like so, and we are going to edit it a bit later, but I'm going to apply this gradient to it, like so. I'm going to jump inside my gradient and I'm going to reposition it to something like this, so that lighter shades go from this side to darker shades which are on this side, and you can play around with the angle. For example, I can lay it down to something like this, and now you can see these features and the navigation that I'm typing in. For now, I'm going to hide the grid just so that you can see this a little bit better. I'm going to hold my Alt or Command key and duplicate this one. I'm going to type in team. Then I'm going to do it once again. I'm going to type in pricing, like so. I'm going to do it once again for the blog, like this. And you can also hit Ctrl or Command D to duplicate it and type in about us. Now, what I like to do when I'm designing is I like to order things. So I like to move my logo to the left and go from left to right or from top to bottom. So right here, as you can see, features, I'm going to move it here. Team, I'm going to place it right here. Pricing is just below team, blog, and then about us. I'm going to select all of these by holding my shift, click right here to line them up properly, and then select everything, hold my shift key once again to line them up with my logo. What I'm going to do next is bring my grid back because I need to position these items. So I'm going to select all of them like so, hold my shift key and position it to here, then hold shift to deselect this one, and I'm going to position it to be at 40. I'm going to hold my shift key once again. As you can see, now we have exactly the same distancing between these, and I'm going to move it at 40 as well. If XD doesn't recognize it, then you can simply hold your shift key or use your arrow keys on your keyboard. I'm going to group everything and position it 40 from the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's basically our navigation. I'm going to call it nav. And that's basically our navigation done. Next, I'm going to create my H1. So I'm going to click my T and hit Ctrl V because I just want to paste this text. I don't want to waste your time by typing these sentences. I'm going to do that for the entire tutorial. I'm going to position it right here. I'm going to jump in here and click on the H1 to convert it to H1. Make sure it's in the middle. And I'm going to position it 100 pixels from here. So I hope you can see it. It's at 100 now. Next, I'm going to create my button and I'm going to use my rectangle for this one. So I'm going to create it to be, for example, 2 columns wide. Let's say something like this. Make sure it's at 260 and height is at 90. You can press enter. And for the corner radius, let's use something like 10, like so. And make sure it's in the middle right here. It is. And then I'm going to simply type in contact us. Next, I'm going to select it and use this color, for example, and make sure it's at 24, like it is right here. And I just want to make sure that it's bold, but you can find it here. So if you hover right here, you can see that this H3 is at 24, and you can see that it's bold because it's showing right here. If this text is thin, like for example right here, you can know that it's at regular, for example, and you can also hover and click edit like so, and you can see that it's at bold 24. You can check the colors right here, you can check the opacity and everything else. So let's keep it at 24. I'm going to jump inside and I'm going to call this contact us BTN. Press enter. And I'm going to group these and I'm going to call this contact us BTN. But if you don't want to do that, you can simply double click and choose this text, paste it in and save a little bit of time. Now I'm going to position it to be at 40 from this one. So right here. And next I'm going to need my mockups. So not to create these mockups, I'm going to paste them in. and I'm going to position this at 100, same like it was from this one. And I'm going to make some changes, reposition them right here. Make sure that the iPhone is above the laptop, because if I move it right here, it's going to disappear behind the laptop. So for the hero BG, let's include those measurements. So I'm going to make sure that this is at 158, for example. So this bleeds over just a little bit, and I'm going to hide my laptop and my iPhone. And I'm going to double click right here on this dot. So double click right here. And if this doesn't work, you can also hover and simply add another anchor point. If this doesn't work, then you can double click right here and simply move this one right here at the top. Click right here, and then you can adjust this angle. You can also move this one if you want to, simply hold your shift key. And you can also adjust this if you want, simply hold your shift key until it meets right around here. And you can get this nice looking angle if you want to. You can also double click inside, add more of these anchor points, and then simply adjust them if you want. Simply double click to convert it from this straight point to this round anchor point. And you can then have these sort of shapes if that's something that you want. Maybe we can leave it to, for example, something like this, let's say. Yeah, and maybe we can add one more around here and simply add a nice bit of curve right here. Let's leave it at that, and you can also experiment if you want. You can add as many of these anchor points as you want to get this sort of shape. So let's move on, and I'm going to create my circle. And I'm going to use my circle like so. Make sure I turn up the fill. And for the border, I want to use something like 20. For the size, I will use 162 with 162, like so. For the color of my border, I'm going to use white. And you can also jump right here. Use your color picker and choose this white FFF. And finally, I'm going to lower the opacity to 20%. You can simply tap 2 on your keyboard, or you can jump right here and lower the opacity down to 20%. Next, what I want to do is reposition it to somewhere around here, let's say. So it's completely up to you where you want to place it. I'm going to call this one circle, like so. And I'm going to move it down to somewhere around here, let's say. And next, what I want to do is I want to duplicate this circle. So hit Ctrl D and move it to somewhere around here. Then I want to hold my shift key and lower the size down. I'm going to use a smaller size of my stroke to 2, for example. You can lower the size even more to somewhere around here, let's say. If you think it's too small, you can increase it and then increase this size to 3, for example, or 4, however you want. And then what you want to do is hit repeat grid. And then I'm going to extend my grid to something like this, and maybe have them to right here. And then you can simply hover and reduce the distance between all of your dots to somewhere around here, let's say. And now you can see it looks really nice. Then you can ungroup grid. You can see you have many circles right now. So you can hit Ctrl G or Command G to group them, call them circles. Then hit this responsive resize to turn it off because you don't want to responsively resize. Hold your shift key to reduce the size and position it to somewhere around here, let's say. Then if I jump outside, you can see how that looks like. And this is really all up to you, how many circles you want. You can click on your group, you can rotate your group if that's something that you want. You can lower the opacity of the entire group, so you can hit 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, however you want. And then you can leave it like this, or you can play around with it even more. But let's call it even, and I'll say that that's done. Now let's move on. I will hold my shift key, select everything, Ctrl G, and I'm going to call this one hero to round up our hero section. Now let's move on, and I have some features that I want to include below. And I'm going to select my text from here. I'm not going to type it in to save some time. So it's going to be again at 100 between these, so you can measure that. So shift 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 to be completely sure that it's at 100. And once again, if I hover, you can see it's 36 bold, open sans, and this color. If I jump in right here, what you need to do is find H2 bold, which is this one basically. And then I want to select these features and type them below. So what I'm going to do is copy and paste icons from my original design just to save a bit more time. So I'm going to paste them right here, and XD is going to position them in their exact position. Next, what I'm going to do is simply choose this text, hit Ctrl D to duplicate it, then move it down below. I'll make sure it's left aligned like so, and then I'm going to type in usable design. That is going to be our first title. Then I'm going to hit Ctrl D, duplicate it, and align it with our grid like so. Type in clean code, that's our second one. Ctrl D one more time, do exactly the same thing. Fully responsive. Like so. And I'm going to type in awesome support at the end, and that's our final one. Like so. And now once you're done, there is some text that needs to be entered, but once again, because these are paragraphs, I'm not going to bore you with typing all of these paragraphs, and I'm going to simply drop them in. Now let's group everything and let's organize these things. So this is our design icon, so usable design, design icon, and this text. I'm going to hit Ctrl G to group them and call this group usable design, like so. Then what I'm going to do is move on to the next one. So code, clean code, and this text. I'm going to call this one clean code, like so. Then we are going to move on to responsive. So simply hold Shift, Control, or Command G to group them and call this fully responsive. And finally, we have awesome support. So I'm going to group everything right here. And the reason I'm grouping all of these is to be able to easily navigate later through my design. And when you send this to the developers and to your clients, because XD is free to download, if your clients have XD, then they can open and inspect this design. Also, if you're using sharing options with the team members or with the developers, they can easily inspect your design as you work. So it's of imperative to name all your layers and to organize all your folders appropriately so that everybody involved can easily navigate through your design. So it's not just you know where everything is. If you're working as part of the team or as a freelancer, then it's really important that everybody are on the same page as to where everything is located. Now let's quickly adjust some things. I'm going to hold my Control key as I select these, and I'm going to make sure that they are at 40. So you can use your arrow keys until they are like so. Then I'm going to select my other texts, so my H2s, and I'll move them with my icons. Hold Shift 1 2 3 4 down. So once again 1 2 3 4 to make sure that they are at 40 pixels. And then finally, we're just going to leave this as it is because it's at 100. So this distance is the same as this distance, as well as this and this distance. But distances between these items in between are at 40 pixels. I hope that makes sense, and you're going to see it throughout the design because we're going to move on and design some other elements shortly. So before we do, I will hit Ctrl G and call these features, like so. And next one is our mission. So let's move on below, and I'm going to use my background. So I have a background in my original design, and I'm going to copy and paste it inside. So here it is, and I'm going to position it right here below, like so. and I'm going to leave it as it is, because as you can see, it's this color right here. So it's really easy, this F8, 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 and it's going to really differentiate our sections of our design. So it's going to incorporate white with this color as well as this color. So it's really going to easily break these sections in between. Now let's move on to the next section, which is our mission. And what I need for our mission is a label. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer. But before I do and create a mission section, I want to show you the angle mockups, because I completely forgot to explain how all of this works. Basically, as I said, I have a premium angle mockups, which means that I pay for them, but you can also download a free version, and I showed you on their website. You can simply click right here to download the free sample and to test them out. And when you do, this is how they look like. Now, I should stress that this is the paid version, and what you have is a plugin. So you can click on your plugins and click right here to search for angle, and this is how the plugin looks like. And basically what you have is all of these different artboards for different sizes of these devices. So for example, we have right here the iPhone size, as you can see, and we have a bunch of different iPhone mockups. So let's say that I want to create this design and use this mockup. I will simply have to jump into my layers panel, hold my control key, click inside, and it's going to jump into this screen layer. Next, what I need is to include this design into my screen, and to do that I have to go to the plugins, angle, apply mockup, because this is selected. Simply click apply mockup and you can choose your artboard, and this is the iPhone artboard. When you click apply, it's going to work its magic, and you're going to end up with the design inside of your artboard. And as you can see, when I zoom in really closely, the mockup itself is a vector, while this image is raster. I don't know how they do their magic, but I see more and more designers using their mockups, and they're really awesome, and they have multiple devices on choice and on offer. As you can see right here, we have MacBooks, we have iPads, we have Pixel phones, Samsung phones, and so on, and they're updating there all of the time. So I really hope that makes it easy and that makes it clean how I got my files to appear right here, because this is my original design and I include it as a mockup just to show you how everything looks like. Now let's move on to the mission section, and I'm going to create my label, and to do that I'm going to use my rectangle. I'm going to draw it like this, for example, and I'm going to make sure it's at 122 and height is at 40. I'm going to remove my border, and I'm going to use this color, for example, for it. And then I'm going to use my H4, but before I do, I need to include corner radius of 10. And I'm going to jump in right here, click T, click inside, and type in our mission, like so. Make sure it's center aligned, and make sure it's H4. Simply click on it and it's going to apply what I already created, so you don't have to lose any time. I'm going to make sure to select them and simply position them like so. Now, as you can see, this label is one column wide, and I intentionally made it like so. Simply call this layer label, group them by hitting Ctrl or Command G, and then call this label. I'm going to move it down below, and now what I need to do is simply duplicate this one, because we are going to use it a lot through our design. So I'm going to select these two, hit Ctrl D, and I'm going to position them outside right so, and simply move them down below like so. And then what I want to do is simply make sure they are at 40 like so, and these are at 40 already because we created them before. Now what I want for this one is, you can leave it like so, but I want to extend at 4 like so. And I'm going to jump in and paste the text which I originally created. And for this one, I will make sure to type in, let us find your pot, like so. And what we need next is an illustration. So for the illustration, I will jump in right here to the plugins, and we have Undraw. and I will type something like travel, for example, and see what it comes up. And I'm going to scroll down to see what it's offering me. And this is the one I was using originally. So you just click on it and hit Ctrl V. Now, for those of you who don't know, I really hope there is really not a lot of you that don't know about Undraw. Undraw is basically open source illustrations created by Katerina, and I cannot pronounce her last name because I don't want to butcher it, but basically you can go to plugins right here, install Undraw, and you can use all of these awesome illustrations created by Katerina. You can choose primary colors right here if you want to edit anything, and you can see there are a lot of illustrations to choose from, and you can also use these illustrations in your personal as well as commercial projects, free of charge, of course. So we are going to use this one, and thank you, Katerina, for creating these illustrations. I'm going to move all of these down, position them in the center, and before I do, I want to drag this just a little bit. Make sure that my illustration is 7 columns wide. I'm going to disable responsive resize because these elements are just going to freak out. And I'm going to make sure it's at 7, so 2, 4, 6, 7, as you can see. And now I'm going to jump inside one more time and simply reposition my text like this. I'll jump back to my layers panel and call this illustration. And what you can do, I'll double click right here to hide my grid. What you can do is jump inside and simply change the look of your colors and change your colors overall. What you can do is you are getting this color imported with your illustrations because that's the main color, this purple one. But if you want, you have two options. First option is simply edit, and you can choose your color picker and, for example, choose this color, and you can see it's going to update it to our color. The other option that you have is simply right click and delete that color. And then you can simply jump inside, hold your command key to select whichever color you want, and then simply apply these assets and colors to that particular color. So you can jump inside and adjust all of these colors manually. You can also jump inside and adjust all of these different colors, but I'm not going to do that and bore you with too many details. But as you can see, the only thing I really don't like about these Undraw illustrations is, even though they are completely free and we really appreciate that as a design community, and Katerina is extremely talented, I will really urge her to name her layers, at least to group the layers. For example, this should be called human, let's say. This should be called left plant, right plant, mountains, images, something like that. This can be browser, just so it's a bit easier to navigate. Right now you can see it's path 206, 205, and you don't know what anything is unless you click on it. So this is his hand, so it should be called hand. You can also do that yourself, but you can imagine how time consuming that is, especially if you're working on a tight deadlines. So I want to make sure that, Katerina, if you're watching, I really hope that you're going to name at least some of your layers or groups in the future. But we really appreciate this as a design community, and thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because we can now use these awesome illustrations in our project. Now let's quickly cut that rant and get back to our design. So our mission, and I'm going to make sure that it's at 100 from our background, which is right here. So I'm going to line it like so. Hold my shift key, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and I'm going to bring in my label because I forgot to include it as well, and I'm going to move it 40 like so. So our mission section is completed, and now let's create a call to action section. And call to action section is mostly used to attract certain user interaction, and we want user to contact us in our case. So we're going to use the same button as this one, and we want them to be able to contact us and to reach us about their potential project, because at this point through our website we really hope that we got their attention. So for the call to action, What I want to do is create a background. So I'm going to use my rectangle, and I'm going to draw a nice big rectangle like so. And I'm going to call it call to action BG, like so. And I'm going to use that gradient one more time. I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to reposition it to somewhere around here, so that we have something similar that we have right here in our hero section. What I also want is to copy my circle. So hit Control C, and I'm going to jump in right here, hit Control V, and I'm going to simply move it right around here. And then what I want is to hit Control D one more time, and I'm going to position that circle somewhere around here, let's say. And then what I want is to use the size. So I'm going to increase the size to 50, let's say, something like this. I'm going to duplicate my call to action BG, place it above the circle, call it mask, like so. And then I'm going to call this bottom circle, because that's what it is. And I'm going to select these two, hold my Shift, Control M. And what that's going to do is simply mask this portion, so you can see it ends right here rather than the entire circle. I'm going to double click and call this mask, and I'm going to position it right here. Next, I'm going to select all of these and simply move them down. Make sure we are at the same distance, so 100. So Shift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because sometimes XD just won't show you where those edges are. Next, I'm going to duplicate my button from my hero. So I'm going to duplicate this one, so Control C, and I'm going to jump in right here, Control V. I'm going to position it right here, make sure it's here. And then what I need is the text. So I'm going to duplicate the text from my original design, just so not to bore you, like so. I'm going to position it right above my Contact Us button. And if I check how everything looks like, you can see Open Sans 36 bold, which is basically H2 bold, this one. And this one is Open Sans regular 24, so it's H3 regular. So it's basically this one, as you can see. And I'm going to position them in the center like so. Make sure everything is at the center, and you can select these three, hold your Control, click CTABG and click right here. It's going to position them in the center. Now let's space them out evenly. As you can see, everything is at 40. You can group them, Control G, hold your Command key, click CTABG and simply click right here. It's going to position them horizontally and vertically in the center. And that's basically it for our call to action section. What I'm going to do is hold my Shift key, group everything and call this CTA, like so. Then we're going to move on to our team section, and for that section we are going to need that same background color. But I'm going to simply copy and paste this section right here just to show you how everything looks like, because it's this background color that we are interested at the moment. So I'm going to paste it in and make sure it lines with our CTA like so. So we're going to call this team BG. And what we're going to do is, as you probably saw when I pasted it, we're going to create these backgrounds, which are 4 columns wide. So I'm going to use my rectangle tool and draw 3 column wide, because we have 4 team members. If we had 3 team members, then it's going to be 4 columns wide. So I'm going to name this one member BG, because later on, if you want to export this to your developers, you only need to export 1 rather than all 4. I'm going to have my corner radius at 10. I'm going to leave my color at white with no border. Now for the dimensions, I want to use 398 with 400. Next, I'm going to create my ellipse, and I'm going to choose the ellipse, which is going to be the 1 column wide. I'm going to call it avatar 1. And I'm going to remove my border and include my shadow. Now shadow for the avatar is going to be this default one, 036, as you can see right here. And what I'm going to do next is simply type in my text, but once again, to save a bit of time, I'm going to simply copy this. As you can see, the name is OpenScience36 bold. So basically this H2, and this right here, OpenScience24, is basically this one right here. So let's move on, and I'm going to make sure that they are at 40. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and make sure this is at 20, because I don't want to have the same distance right here. Next, I'm going to group these, member BG, make sure they are in the center like so. You can ungroup everything and simply group them one more time and call this member 1. Like so. Next, I'm going to hit Ctrl D to group this, and I'm going to move it until it aligns with our grid like so. So make sure it's at 16 so it aligns right here. Ctrl D one more time. Make sure it aligns at 16, as you can see. Ctrl D, and finally just align it to the right edge. Now this is member 4. This is member 3. This is going to be member 2, like so. And now once again, I'm just going to move them like so, and make sure that I order them like this. Now what we need is the text, and because as I said, we're going to use exactly the same text as this one. So I'm going to jump inside and simply copy this just to show you how that looks like. So hit Ctrl C, then hit Ctrl V to paste it outside. I'm going to move it like this. This is going to be in the middle, like so. This is going to be converted from area text to point text, so it doesn't have the area anymore. Make sure it's at the center, and just make sure to position these two in the center of your design, like so. Now what I'm going to do is move them at 100, so make sure it's 100, like so. And what I'm going to type in right here is meet our team. And below that, not to type and bore you, I'm just going to paste the original text I was using, like so. Make sure they are both in the center, and then finally make sure to space these. So I'm going to position them to be at 100, like so. And then this background is going to be at 100 below that. Now finally it's time to add these names, so I'm going to call this one Miley Jules. This is going to be a UI designer. This is going to be, and this guy is going to be developer. And finally we have this person, which is Jane Brown, and she's going to be a copywriter, like so. And now that we've done that, I'm going to rename this to avatar 4. This is going to be avatar 3. I'm going to position it right here. This is going to be avatar 2. Place it right here on top, and finally we have avatar 1. Position it right here. Now what I want to do next is simply to include images into these avatars, and all you need to do is simply drag and drop your files inside. Now what I'm using for these images is unsplash.com, and you can simply use Photoshop or any other software to crop in on these images. You also have some awesome plugins, and if I jump into the plugins section, I don't have it at the moment at this computer, but we can search for it and simply type in avatars. And here is what it turns out. We have UI faces, and UI faces, if you click on it, you can see what it does. So you can use pictures from Unsplash, Pexels, and so on, and it's going to include all of these different avatars into your design. But I have these ones for a few years, and I'm just using them. But you can use that plugin to include different images of different people in your designs really easily. All you need to do is simply instead of dragging and dropping images from your desktop or your folder, all you need is to select these layers, then simply use the plugin. It's going to populate with different people. Now that we've done that, what we need is to group everything. So I'm going to move everything down right here, select my theme BG, hit Ctrl G and call this theme. And make sure to save, so hit Ctrl S. Whatever version of XD you're doing, it's creating a backup cloud document and it's going to save to the cloud. And if you are on the free version, you're not going to be able to save on your desktop from soon. I really don't know, depending on where you're watching this video and when you're watching it, if they are removing that option or bringing it back. But as of time of recording this video, that's what they are saying, that they are going to cut the free version from saving to the desktop, but you're still going to be able to access your cloud file to download that XD file that you created and send it to clients, for example, or developers. Next up, we are going to create a clients section. So what I'm going to do is simply duplicate this text, hit Ctrl D, drag it outside, and I'm going to select it and position it to be at 100. Like so. So it's at 100 distance between this background, and I'm going to move it below. What I'm going to type in right here is our amazing clients. And for this bottom text, I'm just going to copy and paste it inside from the one I already created. But I need to paste in different text. Here it is. And finally, I'm just going to use these logos. Now, these logos I found online, and you're going to obviously use your client's logos because your client is going to give you their clients, and you're going to obviously use those logos. But basically, that's how this section is going to look like. Basically, it's for the companies to show what they did in the past and how they dealt with previous clients. So for example, if you're working in one niche, then these potential clients will be able to recognize their competition working with you on their designs, and they're likely going to be hiring you for that particular design because they recognize their competition has been working with you in the past as an agency. So it's really important that you have client section on your website because it's going to showcase your potential clients, the work that you already done in the past with the clients that they recognize and they have potentially worked in the past or going to work in the future. So now let's move on to the pricing section. I need a background and I'm going to use one from the theme. So I'm going to hit Ctrl D and use this exact same background. I'm going to move it down, make sure it's distance at 100, so same like this one. I'm going to move it down and I'm going to call this one pricing BG. And for the height, I'm going to use 1517 like so. So it's extended a bit more down. And I need a label. So I'm going to use this label from here. Hit Ctrl D to duplicate it, and I'm going to close this, move the label down, move it in the center like so, and make sure it's at 100 from here. So like this. And below label, let's move it down. We also need a text, so I'm going to Ctrl D and duplicate this text. And I'm going to position it down below our label like so. And I'm going to make sure that I have the same distance. So make sure it's at 40 like so, and leave this where it is. And instead of this text, I'm going to hit choose my plan like so. And for the text below, I'm going to simply paste one which I already typed in. Now for the pricing, what we want is 3 prices. So I'm going to have to create a pricing BG. So let's create one, and I'm going to use 4 columns because we have 3 prices, as I said. Now I'm going to call this price BG, and I'm going to leave it at white because it overlays our color, like so. And next I'm going to include another label. So I'm going to duplicate this label, hit Ctrl D, and move everything down so I know where everything is, like so. Make sure that this is at the center, like this. And we're going to move it 40 pixels down from the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And for this price BG, what I want is to include a corner radius of 10. I'm going to remove my border, and next I'm going to simply copy and paste my price inside. So make sure it's at 40 from our label. If you cannot see it, I'm going to show you like this. So shift 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure it's at 40, and I'm going to also copy my text below. So it's going to write ideal for freelancers, and just to see what I'm talking about, make sure that this is a bit darker, like so. And I'm going to bring back my pricing BG to white, like so. And we are also going to have something called top BG, which is just going to be the top color, which is going to separate these two. So I'm going to hit Ctrl D on my price BG. I'm going to call it top BG, for example. And for it, we are going to have the height of 301. And I'm going to click right here, and for the bottom corners, I will type in 0 and type in 0. And for the top corners, we are going to still have this corner radius. Now for the color, we're going to use this one. Simply click on it. And if I double click right here and hide my grid, you can see how that looks like. So for the pricing BG, we are not going to have any shadows, but you can include shadows if that's something that you want. And finally, let's now include all of this text. So I'm going to select my text from my original design, paste it in, like so. Make sure it's at 40, like so. And I'm going to position it just below my top BG. And I'm going to position this here and move it right below my label. So here it is. And one final thing which I need to create is our button. But before I do that and create a button, I need to increase the height of my price BG. So I'm going to type in 982 just so that I can accommodate my button right here below. And button is basically going to be this same button that we used right here. So I'm going to duplicate it, hit Ctrl D and drop it outside like so, and then simply move it all the way down until it fits right here, and position it all the way down just above price BG. Make sure it's at the center like so, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 40 from here to here. You can see that if you hold your Alt or Command key. Now for that, I'm going to jump inside because I didn't remove my border here. I just noticed that. Let me quickly check on my main button. I didn't remove it here either. And those things you're going to notice from time to time as you move on through your design. So I'm going to remove it from here as well. Now for the background, I'm going to use this color, let's say. If it doesn't work, I can use another color. So I can use a color which is F8, 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 which is this color basically. And for the text, we are going to choose this text, but instead of contact us, it's going to write choose this plan, like so. And instead of contact us BTN, this is going to be choose BTN. So double click right here, type in choose BTN, and you can call your folder that as well. Now once you've done that, it's also a good idea to hit save, so hit Ctrl S, And on your button, you can also, if you didn't, you can create a corner radius, but we did at this example. So that's basically one of our pricings done. I'm going to select all of it. So go from label all the way down, make sure everything is as it should. Yes, it is. So go from pricing BG all the way up to label. Hold the shift key, hit Ctrl G to group everything. And we are going to call this price 1. Then hit Ctrl D and make sure to bring my grid back just so that I can align everything correctly. This is going to be price 2. Move it below price 1. Hit Ctrl D and make sure that this is named at price 3, like so. And now we are going to edit some of these. Now for our mission, we have to change this to personal, like so. This next one is going to be called business. And finally, this third label is going to be enterprise. And prices are going to change accordingly. So this is at $5,999 and it's ideal for big businesses. Like so. And this next one is going to be $2,999 and it's ideal for small teams. And because I pasted this in, we're just going to leave it in. Now for the differences between them, what we are going to do is simply type in direct support right here. Because as you move along, you're going to be receiving new features which are going to increase your business and remove the time that you're going to invest in these certain things. So they're really going to help you out more if you are big business because you're paying them more basically. So we have 3-day launch strategy right here. So 3 days, as you can see right here, we have no launch strategy and we have 2 revisions after launch. Now we're going to edit this third one. So we have dedicated support. So basically we have direct support with anybody on the team. Right here we have email support. Direct support can be over the phone, for example, while dedicated support is a specific person which is dedicated to your project specifically, and they're going to communicate with you all the time. Now, finally, right here we have 2 weeks, like so. And for this last one, we have unlimited. Like so. And because this middle one is the best option for most people, which is what is called a sales funnel, which means that basically majority of people are going to go for this middle option because this option doesn't fit anybody because maybe they are passed over that part in their business. This maybe doesn't fit anybody because it's too expensive and it offers you a lot of the things that you don't need. So because this is the option that majority of people is going to go for, we are going to make it stand out just a little bit more, and you can see that throughout the internet. So let's use this color, and for choose this plan text, let's choose white. So simply click right here because we want this pricing option to stand out even more. If you want to make it stand out even more, you can add a drop shadow. So simply click on the shadow, it's going to add a drop shadow. You can play around with it, but I'm not going to do that at the moment because I really hope if you like this sort of tutorials, these long tutorials, I can maybe play around with it and create an interaction tutorial. So maybe we can pick up on this tutorial and add interactions. So for example, on hover, maybe we can include different shadows, maybe we can include different animations for the buttons, for the text, maybe we can include different sliders and so on. So let me know down in the comments below on this video if you would like to see such a thing, and then I'm going to create those tutorials for you guys. Now next, let's bring this back to 100 like so. And we're going to have 100 right here below on the pricing BG. Now, only thing which is left for us to do is simply group this. I'm going to go from my label, hold my shift key, hit Ctrl G, and call this pricing, like so. And finally, what we are left with is our footer. So I'm going to jump inside, hit Ctrl C, hit Ctrl V, and duplicate my logo. Go 100, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm also going to basically copy and paste everything in. So I'm going to make sure that this is at 80, because I really want to give it a lot more space right here at the footer, because users are at the end of the page. Next up, I'm going to choose my navigation items. So I'm going to hold my shift key, hit Ctrl C, hit Ctrl V, and then simply move them right here. So I'm going to position them, make sure to select them. As you can see, it keeps showing me that they are here, which they are not. So one other thing that you can do, you're going to see these XD bugs from time to time. So we're going to make sure to hit Ctrl D, then drag them outside of our folder. Once they are here, you can select them and then simply move them all the way down, like so. Now once you did, you can group them, hit Ctrl G, make sure they are at the center, and you can jump right here and simply choose a color for them. We're going to choose this color, and we're going to make sure that they are at 80, so same distance as between these. Once again, make sure everything is centered properly, like so. And I'm going to position it below, and finally this group of items I'm going to position right here. Now you don't have to group them, you can simply ungroup them because it's text, or if you want to keep everything nice and consistent, you can group them. For example, menu items or navigation items. For text items, you can group that as well, and so on. And one final thing I want to do is simply copy and paste my social media icons, and you're going to receive these social media icons so you can play around with them even more. And one final thing I want to do is simply make a duplicate of them and move them 80 pixels down from the top. So shift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm going to double click and simply bring my artboard in to this point, like so. And then simply delete that copy. I'm going to move them down, and all of these icons, as you can see, you can change their colors because they are vector. You can clearly move on through them and apply whichever color you want to these icons. One final thing, double click right here and hide our grid, just so that we can check everything out and see how it looks like. And finally, I just want to group everything which I just created. So go from logo all the way down to social media icons, hit Ctrl G, and call this footer. And there we have it. We have created our design. I really hope you liked this tutorial. If you want more tutorials like these, for example, on mobile app design, maybe on wireframes, maybe on other topics on website design, maybe we can create different pages through different videos, maybe we can create a series like this. Let me know down in the comments below if you like this sort of videos, because I really like creating these and go in depth with you guys and really helping you understand some basics of web design as well as app design, prototyping, UX, design thinking, and so on. So if you want to see something like this more often from this channel, then let me know down in the comments below and I will create these videos. Finally, I want to show you this. You can, when you're finished, you can click right here to preview your design and see how it might look like once it's coded. So you can check your spacings. For example, we have 100 pixels, but if you want, you can increase this to, let's say, 300 pixels or 500 pixels, something like this. But just make sure to understand and to keep in mind that not everybody is looking at your design on the big screen. So for example, you are looking at this at 4K monitor and it looks just fine, but just make sure to understand that not everybody has 4K monitor. Maybe people are looking at this design on the phone, so how it's going to look like on responsive. And I have a course on that, of course, on my website. You can check that out as well. But until next time, stay creative and let me know down in the comments below if you like these sort of videos and what videos would you like to see next. Thank you for watching the video. I really hope you found value in it. If you did, make sure to press that like button. I upload new videos every single week on design, passive income techniques, freelancing and more. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe and I will see you in the next video. Take care.